Instrumentation staff interviews. Behold, the green and gold.
Hello, my name is Natshawn Charity, and I'm one of the assistant arrangers as well as the assistant high brass coordinator.
Mr. Charity, thank you so much for joining us today. So, Natshawn, where are you from and what high school did you attend?
Thank you for having me, first of all. I am from Richmond, Virginia, and I attended Highland Springs High School.
Okay. So, what made you join the Legion?
Honestly, it was my high school band director, Mr. Davon Yonkers. He left a great lasting impression in my life as a mentor, and I kind of wanted to go to where he went to for college to see what were some of the lessons that he learned. So I wanted to come here and do the same thing that he did for me.
Okay. So, and what instrument did you play in the years that you marched in the Legion?
In the Legion, I played trumpet all 4 years from 2017 to 2021.
Okay. So, of course, we talked to Sebron earlier. He's a trumpet player as well, arranger as well. So, do trumpet players make better arrangers?
I wouldn't necessarily say that we make better arrangers per se. Melodically, of course, we have an understanding of what's going on. But I think it just depends on the type of person that you have studying and things of that nature. Sebron is a very cerebral person, so I can kind of see why he is definitely the arranger that he is. And I definitely look up to him.
Okay. So, what inspired you to become an arranger?
This is a very funny story, but I was the band's graduate assistant, and I didn't know necessarily what my area of expertise would be outside of working with high brass. So I had an instance where we had a meeting where we were planning out a show, and the Silkettes had picked out an arrangement I had been working on, which was Pick Up Your Feelings.
Ladies, if there's no commitment in your relationships and dealings, leave them like Jasmine Sullivan and tell them to pick up.
Turned out to be a very impressive arrangement. It was my very first arrangement for the band, so I was very pleased with what I was able to do for the band. And from that moment on, I was kind of seen as one of the arrangers on staff.
What year was that?
That was 2021.
Okay. So, describe the feeling you get when you're on the podium or ladder conducting the Legion. Just for example, Capitol Classic, right? You were just up there conducting.
Do all the things that your man won't do.
I think it's probably one of the most beautiful feelings that you could ever feel. And I think for me specifically, I love getting opportunities to conduct the ensemble because it gives me a chance to kind of turn my back on the crowd, because a lot of times as arrangers, we're kind of really focused on how is the crowd receiving this arrangement, how are they receiving the music, the dynamics, things of that nature in the music. But for me, I feel like I actually get to lock in with the ensemble and each student in the ensemble as well. So it's a very beautiful feeling that you really can't replicate. It feels different every single time.
Now, outside of working with the Legion, you're a working musician as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
So how does your experience as a performer influence your arranging style?
Well, I think where that helps me is in my design as an arranger, I can kind of figure out exactly what the listener is looking for in a show. A lot of times I get tasked with writing the flag features in shows. And for me, what my overall goal is to take that person back to the very first time they ever heard this song. And there are certain musical qualities that need to happen, certain musical things that need to happen in these arrangements that makes a person go back to that very first time they heard it. So for me, I'm constantly thinking live show, concert, things I would be looking for that makes me really connect with the music in that performance.
Okay. Which instrument do you start with when arranging?
Whew, that's a tough one. And I think it really just depends on where I'm feeling the song. So I am originally an electric bass player as well. And I've been playing bass longer than I've been playing trumpet. So a lot of times I really start with the lower half of the band. So really tubas, trombones, euphoniums to really establish chord structure and things of that nature. And then I actually move up the score to my more melodic instruments. But there have been times where I have switched up my approach just depending upon how I'm hearing the song, things of that nature. So
how do you ensure each section, brass, woodwind, and percussion, has a strong moment in your arrangements?
Well, for the woodwinds, I'm really looking for them to add their wonderful and beautiful color that they have naturally with the timbre of their instruments. And honestly, what I always tell the woodwinds is never feel like you're a lesser part of the band, because a lot of times, whatever the trumpets need assistance on or whatever the mellophones may need assistance on, I use the woodwind instruments to make them cut some more. When it comes to percussion, specifically, even though I don't write for percussion, I try to make sure I leave enough space for percussion to be able to speak in arrangements and things of that nature, which is something that I don't think a lot of arrangers kind of account for, especially younger arrangers. But I used to think I had to fill up every single space and crevice. But as I began to mature as an arranger, leaving a lot of space allows for them to add their own tonal characteristics and colors to the actual arrangements itself. So it makes a great collaborative process.
Okay. So who are your biggest musical influences?
Man, it would be very fitting for me to say, of course, one legend that we just happened to lose yesterday, D'Angelo, is one of my biggest influences. He was one of the musicians that really kind of pushed me to actually become a musician myself. I would have to say also Pino Palladino, who is also his bass player on a lot of his albums, especially like Voodoo, things of that nature. Of course, people like Michael Jackson. And it's a lot of different influences that I have. But I do want to actually shout out the people that I work with on staff, like Mr. B, Miss Sanders, Sebring, Derek Wright, a lot of different people on the staff that kind of actually influenced me musically, believe it or not. So,
well, that's good to hear. Good to hear. So speaking of Mr. B and the staff, how do you collaborate with Mr. B as the band director and Tim Hargrove as the drill writer? Like when you guys are formulating shows and things like that, how does that work for you?
So a lot of it is a big time communication part, or we're just simply having a meeting, sitting down, trying to figure out what is the idea, what are we looking for in this specific space. So the more details I can kind of get from Mr. B and from what Mr. Hargrove kind of want out of the show, the more detailed I can be in my arrangements to kind of help them fulfill those ideas. So it's really about communication a lot of the time.
What's been your favorite arrangement you've written?
Whew, that's a tough one, man. I would have to probably say it's between three main ones, really four. The first one I would have to say is Pick Up Your Feelings, my very first one I did for the band. People fell in love with that arrangement so much. And, you know, believe it or not, I used to say, I don't know what it is about this arrangement, but People have fell in love with that one. I'm Not Your Superwoman. When we actually went to Houston a couple of years ago, where I got to conduct the band for the very first time, was another wonderful one. I would say this year, Capital City, where All the Things Your Man Won't Do by Joe was definitely a big time hit. And then actually one of the rap tunes we played at Capital City as well, Maybach Music 6, was actually one of my favorite arrangements as well. So.
Okay. Have you ever wrote an arrangement and then decided, you know what was I thinking?
Yes, it was actually I'm Not Your Superwoman. That was actually the arrangement where I was like, what was I thinking when I wrote this? Now, after hearing the crowd response on the actual song itself and arrangement itself, I think I did exactly what needed to be done for the arrangement. And I think it was one of those arrangements where I was really overthinking, trying to figure out how can I take this song to the next level to really kind of make a big impact in the show. So at first I was thinking, what was I thinking with this arrangement? But now I'm very much so happy with it.
How do you know when an arrangement is done? I mean, of course, when you've written all the parts, but I'm sure there's times when you've written everything and you still like it's missing something, or maybe I need to take something out. How do you know when it's done?
That's a very interesting question. And I will say probably the best way to know when it's done is when I feel as though it speaks in every single area that it needs to, as far as dynamics, articulations. How are we flowing from one section to another of the arrangement? Are certain sections getting their time to shine within the arrangement? I'll say this. One thing that I did learn from Sebring was he said you had to learn how to be secure in what your arrangement is once you finish it and you really get it to where you want it to be. Otherwise, you will always constantly go back and want to improve it. So there have been certain times where I've had to say, this is it. This is the arrangement, and this is what it's going to be.
How do you measure the success of one of your arrangements?
How I measure the success of my arrangements is based upon how well does the band actually able, or how well is the band able to make the idea of the arrangement come together. And that can mean a few different things. So it's not just simply about how good it sounds when we perform it, but it's also about how fast can the band actually learn it in music rehearsal. My goal is always to be able to teach the main ideas of their arrangement within the first 3 reads of the actual piece itself. And that comes down to, good scoring, good notational things that happen as well. But another big time piece that I use to kind of measure the success of my arrangement is whether it's helping the band develop into the direction we're trying to go. My biggest thing for these students outside of just mere success in shows is their development. So that's a really big thing.
With it being so many HBCU bands, so many arrangers, especially in the mid of the season, you got videos coming out left and right. Everybody's like, have you heard this song? Have you heard this song? You seen this band? Have you seen this band? How do you stay creative in arranging without feeling like you're being manipulated by what you're seeing or hearing on the internet?
So this is going to sound so funny. I would say as a band arranger, I'm very much so not necessarily that big of a band head. And I do pay attention to who we have in our world, of course. But for me, I try to make sure I'm actually listening to more live bands, more live performances, things of that nature, because I like to actually create from there. And a lot of times you can, receive some type of help from different band programs, hearing their arrangements, things that may have worked for them, of course. And honestly, that's where we start as young arrangers. But for me, I think the biggest thing is trying to be able to listen to the music organically and try to figure out what else could I possibly add to the show. Or if I were to put this in a concert, how would I connect these ideas or add ideas to the song to make it actually work? So
Without going too long, describe your working relationship with Mr. B and Miss Sanders. And I said without going too long because I'm sure you can talk about either one of them for quite a while. But yeah.
my working relationship with them, without going too long, of course, I would have to say it started off, of course, as just a straight up teacher-student mentorship. And then now it has grown into something so much more than that, where they not only give me, mentorship in the education field and working with the band and how can I improve my arrangements, things of that nature, but it's also about life. And when I tell you they are the personification of what we're looking to do with students in this program, it's about not only developing musicians, but developing serviceable people in society. And that's one of the things that they have been pushing me to be since the very first day I met them and up until this point now. We constantly have conversations just about how can we be better as people and what could we do better to service other people. So
Give me one thing that you learned from each of them.
Man. With Miss Sanders, one of the wonderful things that she's always taught me is there's never enough musicality. You should always want to, scratch the next level of musicality and always try to always get deeper and deeper and deeper, because whenever we're talking about the art of music itself, there's never ever a place where you just stop or just say this is perfect. It's always something that you can improve on. And me just watching her day in and day out, there may be some things that the band plays and it sounds absolutely amazing, but guess what? She's going to try her best and her hardest to try to get it to an even better level. So she really has taught me to never, just simply be happy with where you are. Always demand more from yourself. And for Mr. B, what he has always taught me was the importance of being able to communicate your ideas clearly and being able to do that confidently. He was one of the people that really got me out of my shell as far as being able to communicate what my ideas were for an arrangement. And there have been times where sometimes I've had to defend certain things that were happening in my arrangements. And he's taught me the great value of being able to have the gift of gab, per se, to be able to communicate with people and get them to understand and see your perspective. So,
All right. What legacy do you hope your work leaves on the Spartan Legion band culture?
what I'm looking to leave as far as a legacy is that no matter where you come from, no matter who you are, no matter what you have done in the band during your time, it's never too late to start something new. I merely was a trumpet player in the band, and I was section leader for 3 years when I was in the band. But I had never arranged for the band until that first year in grad school. And my very first arrangement got put on the field. So one of the things I tell students all the time is don't ever think that your journey is going to be just like somebody else's. It's your job to author your journey, as well as God's job to author your journey as well. So it's never about what others have done before you. You control your destiny in this situation.
Mr. Natshawn Charity, thank you so much for coming out and speaking with us today. It's been a plum pleasing privilege and a pleasure. Anything else you want to say to the people?
No, I really don't have anything. I just appreciate the opportunity for this.
Thank you so much, Mr. Natshawn Charity.
Thank you.
This is Sparta!